Shai yelled at a stranger in a hospital parking lot, not knowing he was a billionaire. And what happened next changed both their lives forever. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy. The rain was relentless that evening in Chicago. Maya Rodriguez pushed through the hospital's back exit, her scrubs still damp with sweat from a brutal 12-hour shift. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from the after-school care center. Ms. Rodriguez, pickup was at 6 p.m. It's now 7:15. Please call immediately. Maya's heart sank. Sophia, her 8-year-old daughter, was waiting for her again. Third time this month she'd been late. Third time she'd have to see the disappointment in her little girl's eyes. She broke into a run toward the employee parking lot, rain soaking through her thin jacket. But when she rounded the corner toward her old Honda Civic, she stopped dead. A sleek black Bentley was parked directly in the emergency lane, engine running. No driver in sight. And behind it, she could see the flashing lights of an ambulance trying to get through. Maya felt something snap inside her. She marched up to the car and pounded on the tinted window with her fist. "Hey, move your car! There's an ambulance trying to get through!" No response. She pounded harder. "I know you're in there. What kind of person blocks an emergency entrance?" The driver's door opened slowly. A man stepped out into the rain. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. His dark hair was perfectly styled despite the weather, and his eyes were cold, almost empty. "Excuse me?" His voice was low, controlled. Maya didn't back down. "You heard me. People are dying in that building. Real people with families who love them. And you're out here blocking the emergency lane like the rules don't apply to you." "I was only what? Only parked for a minute? Only thinking about yourself?" Maya stepped closer, her finger jabbing toward his chest. "Let me guess. You've never had to worry about whether you could afford an ambulance ride. You've never sat in a waiting room praying that someone you love would make it through the night. You just float through life in your fancy car thinking you're better than everyone else." The man's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "Money doesn't make you better than the rest of us," Maya continued, rain streaming down her face. "It just makes you blind. Blind to everyone around you who's struggling while you take up space meant for people who are actually suffering." Behind them, the ambulance horn blared again. Maya spun around and realized with horror that her own car was also partially blocking the lane. In her rush, she hadn't pulled in properly that morning. "Oh no," she whispered. She ran to her Honda, fumbling with the keys. The engine sputtered. Once. Twice. It wouldn't start. "Come on, come on, come on," she begged, turning the key again. The ambulance was waiting. Paramedics were already jumping out, rushing a stretcher toward the entrance. Maya felt tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. She slammed her hands against the steering wheel. "Start, you piece of junk!" A knock on her window made her jump. The man in the suit was standing there, holding an umbrella. His expression hadn't changed, but something in his eyes was different. "Pop the hood," he said. "What?" "Your battery connection is loose. I can see it from here. Pop the hood." Maya hesitated, then pulled the lever. The man walked to the front of her car, reached in, and did something she couldn't see. 30 seconds later, he stepped back. "Try it now." Maya turned the key. The engine roared to life. She looked up to thank him, but he was already walking back to his Bentley. He got in, pulled the car forward smoothly, and parked in a proper space. Then he got out and walked toward the hospital entrance without looking back. Maya sat there for a moment, stunned. Then she remembered Sophia. She threw the car into drive and sped out of the parking lot, not giving the stranger another thought. Alexander Sterling walked through the hospital corridors, his footsteps echoing against the sterile floors. The woman's words rang in his ears. Money doesn't make you better than the rest of us, it just makes you blind. He'd been called many things in his 42 years. Brilliant, ruthless, cold. But blind? That was new. He stopped outside room 412 and took a deep breath before pushing the door open. Eleanor Sterling lay in the hospital bed, smaller than he remembered. The cancer had taken so much from her in the past 6 months. Her once vibrant eyes were now tired, but they lit up when she saw him. "Alexander," she whispered, reaching out her hand, "you came." He crossed the room and took her hand gently. "Of course I came. I was just getting some air." "In the rain?" "I needed to think." Eleanor studied her son's face with the knowing look only a mother could have. "Something happened. I can see it." Alex hesitated. "A woman yelled at me in the parking lot." Eleanor's eyebrows rose. "Yelled at you? What for?" "I was blocking the emergency lane. I didn't realize." He paused. "She said things, true things." "What kind of things?" Alex looked away toward the rain-streaked window. "That I'm blind. That money has made me forget what it's like to struggle. That I think I'm better than everyone else." Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed softly, which turned into a cough. Alex immediately reached for the water on her bedside table. "She sounds wonderful," Eleanor said after taking a sip. "Wonderful. She practically accused me of being a monster." "And were you acting like one?" Alex didn't answer. Eleanor squeezed his hand. "Alexander, you've built an empire. You've accomplished things most people only dream of. But somewhere along the way, you forgot how to be human. That woman, whoever she is, gave you a gift tonight." "A gift?" "She humiliated me. She told you the truth. Do you know how rare that is? Everyone around you says what you want to hear. They agree with everything you say because they want your money or your influence. When was the last time someone looked you in the eye and told you that you were wrong?" Alex thought about it. The answer made him uncomfortable. "I don't even know her name," he said quietly. "Maybe you'll find out," Eleanor replied, her eyes closing. "Maybe she'll be the one to remind you who you used to be before Victoria, before Marcus, before all of it." At the mention of those names, Alex's expression hardened. Victoria Chase, his former fiancée, the woman who had shared his bed for 2 years while plotting with his business partner to steal $50 million from his company. The woman who had looked him in the eyes and told him she loved him while emptying his accounts. And Marcus Webb, his best friend since college, the man he'd trusted with his life, his company, his secrets. The man who had smiled at his birthday party while sleeping with his fiancée and planning his financial destruction. "That was different," Alex said coldly. "They were criminals." "They were people you trusted," Eleanor corrected gently. "And they hurt you. But closing yourself off to everyone isn't the answer, Alexander. It's just another kind of death." Alex wanted to argue, but he couldn't. Not with his mother. Not when he could see how fragile she had become. "Get some rest, Mom," he said, kissing her forehead. "I'll be here in the morning." "Promise me something," Eleanor said, gripping his hand with surprising strength. "Anything. Promise me you'll find that woman, the one who yelled at you." Alex frowned. "Why?" "Because anyone brave enough to tell a billionaire he's wrong in a hospital parking lot is someone worth knowing." Eleanor's eyes closed again. "Promise me, Alexander." He hesitated, then nodded. "I promise." But as he walked out of the hospice wing, he had no intention of keeping that promise. What would he even say to her? "Thank you for insulting me?" She was nobody. Just a tired nurse with a chip on her shoulder. He would forget about her by morning. Across the city, Maya Rodriguez pulled into the parking lot of Little Stars after-school care. The lights were still on, but she could see through the window that the room was nearly empty. She ran inside, breathless and still damp from the rain. Sophia was sitting alone at a small table drawing with crayons. When she saw her mother, her face lit up. "Mommy!" Maya dropped to her knees and pulled her daughter into a tight hug. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry I'm late." "It's okay, Mommy. Mrs. Patterson let me use the special crayons." Maya looked up at Mrs. Patterson, the center's director, who was standing nearby with her arms crossed. "Ms. Rodriguez, this is the third time this month. I know. I'm sorry. Work was crazy and then my car wouldn't start and I understand you're going through a difficult time," Mrs. Patterson interrupted, her tone softening slightly. "But we have policies. If this continues, we'll have to discuss other arrangements." Maya nodded, shame burning in her chest. "It won't happen again." She took Sophia's hand and led her out to the car. As she buckled her daughter into the back seat, Sophia looked up at her with those big brown eyes. "Mommy, are you sad?" Maya forced a smile. "No, baby, I'm just tired. Mrs. Patterson said you work too much. She said you need a vacation." Maya laughed despite herself. "Mrs. Patterson is very smart, but vacations cost money, sweetie. And right now we need to save our money for important things. Like my special reading class?" Maya's heart clenched. Sophia had been diagnosed with dyslexia the year before. The specialized tutoring she needed cost $300 a week. Money Maya didn't have, but she'd find it somehow. She always did. "Yes, baby, like your special reading class." They drove home in silence, the windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the rain. Maya's mind kept drifting back to the man in the parking lot. The way he'd looked at her, the way he'd fixed her car without a word. Who was he? It didn't matter. She'd probably never see him again. Their apartment building loomed ahead, a squat brick structure in one of Chicago's rougher neighborhoods. Maya had lived in better places once, before Daniel died, before the medical bills piled up, before she learned what it really meant to struggle. She carried Sophia up 3 flights of stairs because the elevator had been broken for 2 weeks. By the time they reached apartment 3B, her arms were aching and her feet were screaming. Inside, she quickly made Sophia a peanut butter sandwich and a glass of milk. While her daughter ate, Maya checked the mail she'd grabbed from the box downstairs. Bills, past due notice, final warning. She stuffed them in a drawer, not wanting to think about them tonight. "Mommy, can you read me a story?" Sophia asked, tugging at her hand. Maya looked at the clock. It was almost 9. She had to be back at the hospital by 6 a.m. "One short story," she said. "Then bed." 20 minutes later, Sophia was asleep, clutching her worn teddy bear. Maya stood in the doorway, watching her daughter's peaceful face in the dim light. "I'm going to give you a better life, baby," she whispered. "I promise." She walked to the kitchen and poured herself a glass of water. Through the window, she could see the rain still falling, turning the city lights into blurry streaks. Her phone buzzed, a text from her friend Carmen, who worked the night shift at the hospital. "Girl, you'll never guess who was in hospice tonight. Alexander Sterling. The Alexander Sterling, the tech billionaire. His mom is dying." Maya frowned at the screen. "Never heard of him," she typed back. "Are you serious? He's worth like $8 billion. Built Sterling Technologies from nothing. Total recluse, though. Never does interviews. There's pictures online, but he never shows up anywhere public." Maya was about to put her phone away when another message came through. "Wait, someone said there was some drama in the parking lot tonight. A nurse yelling at some rich guy. Please tell me that wasn't you." Maya's blood ran cold. She quickly typed, "I don't know what you're talking about. Good night." She put her phone on silent and sat down heavily on the couch. Alexander Sterling, $8 billion. She had screamed at a billionaire, called him blind, accused him of thinking he was better than everyone else. While his mother was dying in hospice, Maya buried her face in her hands. "Oh God," she whispered, "what have I done?" But even as the shame washed over her, another feeling flickered beneath it. Defiance. So what if he was rich? So what if he had billions? He was still blocking an emergency lane. He was still taking up space meant for people who needed it. Money didn't give him the right to be careless with other people's lives. And his mother was dying. That was sad, truly sad. But it didn't change what he'd done. Maya lifted her head and took a deep breath. She'd probably never see him again. And even if she did, she wouldn't apologize. Not for telling the truth. She turned off the lights and went to bed, not knowing that in less than 12 hours, she would see Alexander Sterling again. And this time, everything would be different. The next morning arrived too soon. Maya's alarm blared at 5:15 a.m., and she dragged herself out of bed with every muscle protesting. She got Sophia ready for school, made her breakfast, and walked her to the bus stop. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray and heavy. "Have a good day, baby," Maya said, kissing her daughter's forehead. "You too, Mommy. Don't work too hard." Maya smiled. "I'll try." She watched the bus pull away, then hurried to her car. Miraculously, it started on the first try. Whatever that man had done to the engine had actually worked. At the hospital, Maya clocked in and checked her assignments for the day. Her heart stopped when she saw the room number at the top of her list. Room 412. Eleanor Sterling, hospice. "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered. "Problem?" asked her supervisor, Nurse Director Helen Chen. No problem." Maya forced a smile. "Just surprised. I didn't know I was assigned to hospice today. We're short-staffed. Eleanor Sterling specifically requested you, actually. Said you were the best nurse she's ever had." Maya blinked. "She requested me?" "Apparently you've been very kind to her. She appreciates that." Helen paused. "Her son might be visiting today, Alexander Sterling. Try to be professional." "Of course," Maya said, her stomach churning. She walked slowly toward room 412, her mind racing. Maybe he wouldn't be there. Maybe he'd already left. Maybe. She pushed open the door and found Eleanor Sterling sitting up in bed, a warm smile on her thin face. "Maya, my favorite nurse." Maya couldn't help but smile back. She'd been caring for Eleanor for 3 weeks now, and despite the circumstances, she'd grown genuinely fond of the woman. Eleanor was sharp, funny, and full of stories about her life. "Good morning, Mrs. Sterling. How are you feeling today?" "Better now that you're here. Sit with me for a moment. I want to tell you something." Maya pulled up a chair beside the bed. "Of course." Eleanor reached out and took her hand. "I heard about what happened last night in the parking lot." Maya felt her face flush. "Mrs. Sterling, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was your son. I didn't mean—" "Don't you dare apologize," Eleanor interrupted, her grip surprisingly strong. "My son needed to hear those things. He's become so closed off, so cold. After what happened with Victoria and Marcus, he stopped trusting anyone, stopped caring about anyone except me." "Victoria and Marcus?" Eleanor's expression darkened. "His former fiancée and his business partner, they betrayed him, stole from him, broke his heart. He caught them together in his own home. And then he discovered they'd been siphoning money from his company for months." Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. "That's terrible." "It was, and he never recovered. He built walls so high that no one can reach him anymore. But last night you did. You reached him. I yelled at him. You told him the truth. There's a difference. Eleanor smiled. You remind me of myself when I was young, fighting for everything, working hard, never backing down. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. I don't feel like I'm fighting anymore, Mrs. Sterling. Most days I feel like I'm drowning. Eleanor squeezed her hand. I know. I can see it. The exhaustion, the worry. You're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, aren't you? Maya couldn't speak. She just nodded. Tell me about your life, Maya. Tell me what you're fighting for. And Maya did. She told Eleanor about Daniel, her husband who had died in a car accident 3 years ago, about the medical bills that had accumulated during his final days in the hospital, about Sophia and her learning disability, about the double shifts and the sleepless nights and the constant fear that she wasn't doing enough. By the time she finished, both women were crying. You're an extraordinary woman, Maya Rodriguez, Eleanor said, wiping her eyes. My son is a fool if he doesn't see that. The door opened and Maya's heart stopped. Alexander Sterling stood in the doorway holding a bouquet of flowers. His eyes met Maya's, and for a moment neither of them moved. Alexander, Eleanor said brightly. Come in. I was just getting to know your parking lot friend. Alex's expression was unreadable as he stepped into the room. I didn't realize you two had met. Maya has been caring for me for weeks. She's wonderful. The only one here who talks to me like a person instead of a patient. Alex placed the flowers on the bedside table, his movement stiff. That's good. The silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable. I should go check on my other patients, Maya said, standing abruptly. Mrs. Sterling, I'll be back to check on you in an hour. Maya, wait, Eleanor called. I want you to know something. Whatever happened last night, my son deserved it. Don't feel bad for a single moment. Maya glanced at Alex, who was staring at the floor. I'll see you later, Mrs. Sterling, she said quietly and walked out the door. Alex watched her go, a strange feeling settling in his chest. She's something, isn't she? Eleanor said. She's certainly not afraid to speak her mind. That's what I like about her. Eleanor patted the bed beside her. Sit down, Alexander. We need to talk. Alex sat, bracing himself. He knew that tone. I'm dying, Eleanor said bluntly. We both know it. The doctors give me weeks, maybe a month if I'm lucky. Mom, don't. Let me finish. I've made peace with it, but I haven't made peace with you. Alex frowned. What do you mean? I mean, I'm worried about you. You've become so hard, so closed off. When you were young, you had such a big heart. You wanted to help people, change the world. What happened to that boy? He grew up, Alex said flatly. He learned that people can't be trusted. Some people can't be trusted. That doesn't mean everyone is the same. Eleanor reached out and touched his face. That woman, Maya, she's the real thing, Alexander. I've watched her for weeks. She works harder than anyone I've ever seen. She's kind to every patient, even the difficult ones, and she's struggling more than you could possibly imagine. What do you mean? She lost her husband 3 years ago. She's raising her daughter alone. She's drowning in debt. But she never complains. She just keeps fighting. Alex was quiet, processing this information. I want you to help her, Eleanor said. Help her how? I don't know. Figure it out. But do it anonymously. She's too proud to accept charity. Mom, I can't just... You promised me last night that you'd find her. Well, you found her. Now keep your promise. Eleanor's eyes were fierce despite her frailty. Before I die, I want to know that you haven't completely lost your humanity. Prove it to me, Alexander. Prove it to yourself. Alex looked at his mother, at the determination burning in her tired eyes. He thought about Maya, about the fire in her voice when she'd confronted him in the parking lot, about the way she'd spoken to his mother with genuine kindness. I'll think about it, he said finally. Don't think. Act. Time is running out for me. And maybe for you too if you don't change. Alex stayed with his mother for another hour, then made his way out of the hospital. As he walked through the corridors, he found himself looking for Maya, but she was nowhere to be seen. In the parking lot, he sat in his car for a long time, staring at nothing. His mother was dying. His company was stable but joyless. His personal life was non-existent. He had billions of dollars and no one to share them with. And a woman he didn't know had looked him in the eyes and called him blind. Maybe she was right. Alex pulled out his phone and dialed his assistant. "Jennifer, I need you to find out everything you can about a woman named Maya Rodriguez. She's a nurse at St. Michael's Hospital. I want her employment records, her financial situation, everything, and I need it by tonight." "Sir, is this for—" "Just do it." He hung up and started the car. He didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know why he cared. But for the first time in 2 years, Alexander Sterling felt something other than cold emptiness. He felt curious. And that, he thought, might be the most dangerous feeling of all. What did you think of Maya and Alexander's first encounter? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story so far? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to keep up with all our stories. The information arrived on Alexander's desk by 9 p.m. that same evening. Jennifer, his assistant, had been thorough as always. The folder was thick, filled with documents, records, and photographs. Alex sat in his penthouse office, the Chicago skyline glittering behind him, and began to read. Maya Elena Rodriguez, age 32, born in the Pilsen neighborhood of Chicago to immigrant parents. Father was a factory worker. Mother cleaned houses. Maya had earned a nursing scholarship to the University of Illinois through sheer determination, graduated top of her class, married Daniel Rodriguez at age 24. Daniel had been a forensic accountant specializing in corporate fraud investigation. They'd been happy. The photographs in the file showed a young couple laughing, holding hands, full of hope. Then came the accident. 3 years ago, Daniel was driving home from work when a drunk driver ran a red light. He was rushed to the hospital where he held on for 11 days before his body finally gave out. The medical bills from those 11 days totaled $487,000. Insurance covered some of it. But Maya was still drowning in $312,000 of debt. Alex turned the page and found information about Sophia. 8 years old. Bright, creative, struggling with dyslexia. The specialized tutoring she needed cost $200 a month. Maya had been paying for it by working double shifts, sometimes triple, for the past year. There was more. Maya's apartment was in a building with multiple code violations. Her car had failed inspection twice in the past year. She was 3 months behind on her electric bill and had received 2 eviction warnings in the past 6 months. Yet, somehow she kept going. She never missed a shift. She never complained. She just kept fighting. Alex closed the folder and stared out at the city. This woman had nothing. She was buried under a mountain of debt, raising a child alone, working herself to exhaustion every single day. And yet she had found the strength to yell at a stranger in a parking lot because she believed it was the right thing to do. When was the last time he had done something simply because it was right? He couldn't remember. Alex picked up his phone and made a call. "Michael, it's Alex. I need you to do something for me quietly." The next morning, Maya woke to a knock on her door. She stumbled out of bed, still half asleep, and peered through the peephole. A man in a mechanic's uniform stood in the hallway. She opened the door cautiously. "Can I help you?" "Ms. Rodriguez, I'm from Garcia's auto shop. We got a work order to pick up your Honda Civic for repairs." Maya frowned. "I didn't schedule any repairs." The mechanic checked his clipboard. "Says here it's prepaid. Full engine overhaul, new brakes, new tires. Someone called it in yesterday." There must be a mistake. I can't afford... Like I said, ma'am, it's prepaid, all of it. I just need your keys and we'll have it back to you in 3 days. We're leaving you a loaner in the meantime. He pointed to a modest but clean sedan parked on the street. Maya's mind raced. Who would do this? She didn't have family with money. Her friends were all as broke as she was. Who paid for this? She asked. The mechanic shrugged. Anonymous donor, that's all I know. You want the work done or not? Maya hesitated. Every instinct told her to refuse. She didn't accept charity. She didn't take handouts. But her car had been dying for months. The engine made sounds that terrified her. The brakes squealed every time she stopped. And if her car broke down completely, she'd lose her job. She couldn't afford pride right now. Okay, she said quietly. Let me get the keys. That afternoon at the hospital, Maya couldn't stop thinking about the car. She mentioned it to Carmen during their lunch break. Maybe you have a secret admirer, Carmen teased. That's not funny. I'm serious. Maybe someone noticed how hard you work and wanted to help. Maya shook her head. People don't just help strangers. There's always a catch. Not always. Sometimes people are just kind. Maya wanted to believe that, but life had taught her otherwise. After lunch, she made her rounds and eventually found herself back at room 412. Eleanor Sterling was sitting up in bed, looking slightly better than the day before. Maya, come sit with me. Maya checked Eleanor's vitals while they talked. Blood pressure was stable. Heart rate was steady. Small mercies. How are you feeling today, Mrs. Sterling? Better. My son visited this morning. He seemed different somehow, lighter. Maya tried to keep her expression neutral. That's good. He asked about you. Maya's hand stilled on the blood pressure cuff. He did. He wanted to know more about your life, your situation. I hope you don't mind that I told him a little. Maya felt a flash of irritation. Mrs. Sterling, with all due respect, my life is private. I know, dear, and I'm sorry. But Alexander needs to see that there are good people in the world. People who struggle and fight and never give up. People like you. Maya sighed. She couldn't stay angry at a dying woman. I don't want to be anyone's charity case, she said quietly. Eleanor reached out and took her hand. You're not a charity case, Maya. You're an inspiration. There's a difference. Before Maya could respond, the door opened and Alexander Sterling walked in. He was dressed more casually today. Dark jeans, a gray sweater. He looked almost human. Their eyes met, and Maya felt that same uncomfortable tension from the day before. Maya, he said, nodding. Mr. Sterling. Eleanor looked between them with a knowing smile. Alexander, why don't you keep Maya company while I rest? I'm sure you two have things to discuss. Mom, I don't think... Go. Take her to the cafeteria, buy her a coffee. She works too hard and probably hasn't eaten a proper meal in days. Maya opened her mouth to protest, but Eleanor had already closed her eyes, pretending to sleep. Alex looked at Maya awkwardly. You don't have to... It's fine, Maya said, surprising herself. I could use a break. They walked to the cafeteria in silence. Alex bought 2 coffees and they sat at a table by the window, the awkwardness between them palpable. I owe you an apology, Maya said finally. Alex raised an eyebrow. Do you? I didn't know your mother was dying. I didn't know you were here visiting her. I just saw the car and I assumed... You assumed I was another entitled rich person who thought the rules didn't apply to me. Maya winced. Yes. And were you wrong? She looked at him, surprised by the question. I don't know. Was I? Alex was quiet for a moment, stirring his coffee. Probably not. I've spent so long surrounded by yes men and sycophants that I forgot what it was like to be held accountable. When you yelled at me in that parking lot, it was the first honest thing anyone had said to me in years. Maya didn't know what to say to that. My mother told me about your husband, Alex continued. About the accident, about the bills, I'm sorry. Maya stiffened. I don't want your pity. It's not pity, it's respect. He looked at her directly. You've been through hell and you're still standing. Still working. Still fighting for your daughter. That takes strength most people don't have. Maya felt tears threaten and blinked them back. I don't have a choice. Sophia needs me. Everyone has a choice. You could have given up, you didn't. The silence between them shifted, becoming something less hostile. Why do you act like caring about people is weakness? Maya asked suddenly. Alex's jaw tightened. Because in my experience, caring about people gets you hurt. Your mother mentioned something about a betrayal. He laughed bitterly. Is that what she called it? A betrayal? He shook his head. Victoria was my fiancée. We were together for 2 years. I was going to propose on our anniversary. I had the ring, the restaurant reservation, the whole plan. What happened? Marcus happened. My business partner, my best friend since college. Alex's voice was flat, controlled. I came home early from a business trip, found them together, in my bed, in my house. Maya's heart clenched. I'm so sorry. That's not even the worst part. When I confronted them, Marcus laughed. He said I was a fool, that they'd been together for over a year, that the whole time I thought I was building a life with Victoria. She was helping Marcus siphon money from my company. How much did they take? $50 million. Alex met her eyes. They would have taken more, but I caught them, filed charges, got most of it back. But the money wasn't what hurt. It was the betrayal. The realization that the 2 people I trusted most in the world had been playing me for years. Maya sat in stunned silence. So yes, Alex continued, I act like caring about people is weakness. Because every time I've cared, I've been punished for it. Not everyone is like them, Maya said softly. Maybe not. But how do you tell the difference? Maya thought about it. You can't, not always. But closing yourself off completely isn't living, it's just surviving. Alex studied her for a long moment. You sound like my mother. She's a wise woman. She's dying. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with pain. I know, Maya said gently, but she's not dead yet. And she wants you to live, really live, not just exist in that cold tower you've built around yourself. Alex looked away, his jaw working. You don't know anything about me. I know you fixed my car in the rain instead of just driving away. I know you're here every day with your mother instead of hiding in your office. I know you're capable of kindness, even if you've forgotten how. He turned back to her, something unreadable in his eyes. Why do you care? Maya hesitated. I don't know. Maybe because your mother cares. Maybe because I've seen too much death in this hospital to watch someone waste their life being afraid. Her pager buzzed before he could respond. She glanced at it and stood. I have to go. Mrs. Patterson in 306 needs her medication. Alex stood as well. Maya, wait. She paused, looking at him. Thank you, he said quietly, for being honest with me. Most people aren't. Maya nodded and walked away, her heart beating faster than it should have been. Over the next 2 weeks, strange things continued to happen in Maya's life. First, her car came back from the shop running like new. The mechanic said it should last another 10 years at least. Then she received a letter from her landlord. Her back rent had been paid in full along with 6 months in advance. Anonymous donor. Next, Sophia came home from school bursting with excitement. She'd been accepted into a special scholarship program for children with learning disabilities. Full tutoring coverage, plus educational materials and a laptop. "Mommy, they said I can go to the special reading camp this summer too," Sophia exclaimed. "And it's all free." Maya sat at the kitchen table staring at the acceptance letter. The program was real. She'd called to verify. But it had only been established 3 weeks ago, and Sophia was one of the first recipients. 3 weeks ago, right around the time Maya had yelled at Alexander Sterling in a parking lot. It couldn't be a coincidence. The next day at the hospital, Maya found Alex in the hallway outside his mother's room. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, her voice tight. "Of course." She pulled him into an empty waiting room and closed the door. "The car, the rent, Sophia's scholarship. That was all you, wasn't it?" Alex's expression remained neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, I'm not stupid." He sighed, dropping the facade. "My mother asked me to help you." "So this is charity, pity for the poor struggling nurse. It's not—" "I told you I don't want your handouts." Maya's voice rose. "I don't need some billionaire swooping in to fix my life. I've been doing fine on my own." "Have you?" Alex stepped closer. "You're drowning in debt. You're working yourself to death. Your daughter needs help you can't afford. How is that doing fine?" Maya felt tears of frustration burning her eyes. "That's my life. My struggle. You don't get to just throw money at my problems and pretend you understand what I'm going through." "I'm not pretending anything. I saw a problem and I fixed it." "I'm not a problem to be fixed." They stood there, both breathing hard, the tension crackling between them. "Then what do you want me to do?" Alex asked quietly. "Take it all back? Put you back in debt? Cancel Sophia's scholarship?" Maya's anger faltered. She thought of Sophia's excitement, the joy on her daughter's face when she talked about the reading program. "No," she whispered. "I can't do that to her." "Then accept the help. Not as charity, not as pity." Alex's voice softened. "Accept it as what it is. One person trying to make another person's life a little easier." "Why? Why do you care?" Alex was quiet for a moment. "Because you were the first person in years who told me the truth. Because my mother sees something in you that she wants me to see. And because—" He hesitated. "Because maybe I'm tired of being the person you thought I was in that parking lot." Maya wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. "I don't know how to do this. Accept help. Trust someone. Neither do I. Maybe we can figure it out together." She looked at him, really looked at him. Beneath the expensive clothes and the cold exterior, she saw something she recognized. Loneliness, fear, the same thing she saw in the mirror every morning. "Your mother is dying," Maya said quietly. "You should be with her, not worrying about me. Being with her is why I'm worrying about you. She talks about you constantly, how kind you are, how strong. She says you remind her of herself when she was young." Maya felt a lump forming in her throat. "She's an amazing woman." "She is, and she wants us to be friends, or at least not enemies." Maya almost laughed. "We're not enemies. Could have fooled me the way you yelled at me in that parking lot." A small smile tugged at her lips. "You deserved it." "I did," Alex smiled back just slightly. "So what do you say? Can we start over?" Maya considered it. Everything in her life had taught her to be suspicious, to guard her heart, to never rely on anyone but herself. But standing here, looking at this broken billionaire who was trying so hard to be better, she felt something shift. "Okay," she said finally. "We can try." Alex extended his hand. "I'm Alexander Sterling. My friends call me Alex." Maya took it, her small hand disappearing in his larger one. "Maya Rodriguez, my friends call me Maya." "Nice to meet you, Maya." "Nice to meet you, Alex." They shook hands and something passed between them. Not quite friendship, not quite anything else, but something. It was a start. Eleanor Sterling's condition grew worse over the following days. Her body was giving up, slowly but inevitably. The doctors increased her pain medication and spoke in quiet tones about making her comfortable. Alex was there every day, sometimes for hours at a time. Maya saw him in the hallways by his mother's bedside, in the cafeteria staring into cold cups of coffee. She tried to give him space, but Eleanor wouldn't allow it. "Maya, come sit with us," Eleanor would say whenever she visited for her routine checks. "Tell Alexander about Sophia. Tell him about your life." So Maya did. She told stories about Sophia's adventures at school, about the funny things her daughter said, about the small moments of joy that made the struggle worthwhile. And slowly, reluctantly, Alex began to share too. He talked about his childhood, about growing up with nothing and building an empire through sheer willpower. He talked about his mother's sacrifices, how she'd worked 3 jobs to put him through school. He even talked about Victoria and Marcus, though it clearly still hurt. "The worst part," he said one evening while Eleanor dozed, "is that I should have seen it coming. The signs were all there. I was just too blind to notice." "Love makes us blind sometimes," Maya said gently. "Is that what it was? Love?" Alex shook his head. "I'm not sure I even know what that means anymore." "I do." Maya's voice was soft. "Love is Sophia's arms around my neck when I come home from a long shift. It's my husband's voice in my head telling me I can do this when everything feels impossible. It's the way your mother looks at you, like you're still the little boy she raised no matter how old you get." Alex was quiet for a long moment. "I envy you," he said finally. "Envy me? I have nothing. You have everything that matters." He looked at her, his eyes more vulnerable than she'd ever seen them. "You have people who love you, memories that sustain you, hope for the future. I have buildings and bank accounts and nothing else." Maya didn't know what to say, so she simply reached out and took his hand. They sat like that for a while, 2 broken people finding comfort in each other's presence. One night, Maya was preparing to leave after her shift when her phone buzzed. It was a text from Alex. "Mom's taken a turn, can you come?" She ran to room 412, her heart pounding. Alex was standing by his mother's bedside, his face pale. The monitors showed Eleanor's vital signs weakening. "She asked for you," Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. Maya approached the bed. Eleanor's eyes fluttered open, finding her face. "Maya," Eleanor breathed. "My sweet girl." "I'm here, Mrs. Sterling." Maya took the frail hand in both of hers. "Take care of him." Eleanor's voice was fading. "Promise me." Maya felt tears streaming down her face. "I promise." Eleanor turned her gaze to Alex. "My beautiful boy, I'm so proud of you." "Mom, don't." Alex's voice broke. "Let me go, Alexander, it's time." Eleanor reached up and touched his face with trembling fingers. "Don't be afraid to love again. That woman, she sees you, the real you, let her in." "Mom, please. I love you, I've always loved you. Now live, Alexander, really live." Her eyes closed. The monitors beeped steadily for another moment, then slowed. And then peacefully, Eleanor Sterling passed away. Alex stood frozen, his mother's hand still in his. Maya watched him, her own grief mingling with her worry for him. "Alex," she whispered. He didn't respond, didn't move. Maya stepped closer and gently put her hand on his shoulder. "Alex, I'm so sorry." Something broke inside him then. The walls he'd built so carefully over the years came crashing down. His shoulders shook and then he was crying. Great heaving sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside. Maya did the only thing she could think of. She wrapped her arms around him and held on. They stood like that for a long time, 2 strangers who had somehow become something more. grieving together in the dim light of a hospital room. "I don't know how to do this," Alex said finally, his voice raw. "I don't know how to live without her." "You take it one day at a time," Maya said softly. "That's all any of us can do." He pulled back and looked at her, his eyes red and swollen. "Will you stay? Tonight? I don't want to be alone." Maya hesitated. She thought of Sophia waiting at home with the babysitter. She thought of boundaries, of professionalism, of all the reasons she should say no. Then she thought of Eleanor's final words. "Take care of him. Promise me." "I'll stay," she said, "as long as you need." They sat together in the hospital cafeteria until dawn, talking about everything and nothing. Maya called her neighbor to check on Sophia. Alex called his lawyer to begin the arrangements for his mother's funeral. And somewhere in those quiet hours, something shifted between them. The suspicion and hostility that had marked their first meeting faded, replaced by something deeper: trust, understanding, the beginning of something neither of them had expected. When the sun finally rose over Chicago, Maya looked at Alex with new eyes. He was broken, grieving, lost. But he was also kind, generous, capable of change, and despite everything her life had taught her about not trusting people, despite all the walls she'd built around her own heart, Maya felt herself beginning to care about Alexander Sterling. She knew it was dangerous. She knew it could end badly. But for the first time in 3 years, she felt something other than exhaustion and fear. She felt hope. And as they walked out of the hospital together into the early morning light, both of them knew that nothing would ever be the same again. What did you think of the growing connection between Maya and Alex? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story so far? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to keep up with all our stories. The funeral for Eleanor Sterling was held on a gray Tuesday morning. The service was small and private, just as she had requested. A handful of longtime employees, a few distant relatives, and Maya. Alex had asked her to come. It wasn't professional, it wasn't appropriate, but Maya couldn't say no. She stood at the back of the chapel watching Alex deliver the eulogy. His voice was steady, controlled, but Maya could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands gripped the podium. "My mother was the strongest person I ever knew," Alex said. "She raised me alone. She worked 3 jobs so I could go to school. She taught me that success isn't measured by what you have, but by who you are." He paused, his eyes finding Maya in the crowd. "In her final days, she reminded me of that lesson. She told me not to be afraid to let people in, to trust again, to live." His voice wavered slightly. "I'm going to try, Mom. I promise I'm going to try." After the service, Alex stood alone by the casket. The other mourners had left, offering their condolences before filing out. Only Maya remained. She walked up beside him, not saying anything, just being there. "She would have liked this," Alex said quietly. "Small, intimate, no pretense. She was a remarkable woman. She was." Alex turned to look at Maya. "Thank you for being here. You didn't have to come." "Yes, I did." They stood in silence for a moment, longer. Then Alex reached out and took her hand. "I don't know what happens now," he admitted. "I've spent my whole life building things, companies, empires, but I never learned how to build what matters: relationships, trust, a life worth living." Maya squeezed his hand. "Maybe it's not too late to learn. Will you help me?" The question hung in the air between them. Maya knew what he was asking, not just for friendship, not just for support, but for something more. "I'll try," she said. "But I need you to understand something. I'm not looking for a savior. I don't need someone to fix my life. What I need is a partner, an equal, someone who sees me as more than a project." Alex nodded slowly. I can do that, or at least I can try. Then we'll figure it out together. In the weeks following the funeral, Maya and Alex fell into an unexpected routine. He would visit her at the hospital during her breaks, bringing coffee and sandwiches. She would text him in the evenings, checking in, making sure he wasn't drowning in grief alone. They talked about everything: his childhood, her marriage, his betrayal, her loss. Slowly, carefully, they began to trust each other. Sophia was the bridge that brought them closer. The first time Alex met her was an accident. Maya's babysitter had canceled at the last minute, and she'd had no choice but to bring Sophia to the hospital for the last hour of her shift. Alex found them in the cafeteria, Sophia doing homework while Maya checked her phone between bites of a stale sandwich. "Is this seat taken?" Maya looked up, surprised. "Alex, what are you doing here?" "I had a meeting nearby, thought I'd stop in." He looked at Sophia, who was watching him with curious eyes. "And who's this?" "This is my daughter, Sophia." "Sophia, this is Mr. Sterling. He's a friend." Sophia tilted her head, studying Alex with the unfiltered honesty only children possess. "You're the man who fixed Mommy's car." Alex blinked. "How did you know that?" "Mommy said a stranger helped her." "But you're not really a stranger anymore, are you?" Maya felt her cheeks flush. "Sophia, it's all right," Alex said, a genuine smile crossing his face. "She's right, I'm not a stranger anymore." He sat down across from them. "What are you working on?" Sophia showed him her worksheet. "Reading. It's hard because the letters get mixed up sometimes." "I heard about that. Your mom told me you're in a special program now." Sophia nodded enthusiastically. "It's so cool. They have computers that read to you and games that help you learn. And this summer, I get to go to reading camp." Alex glanced at Maya, who was watching the interaction with a mixture of surprise and warmth. "That sounds amazing," Alex said. "I bet you're going to be the best reader in your class by next year." "That's what Mommy says," Sophia beamed. Then her expression turned serious. "Are you Mommy's boyfriend?" "Sophia!" Maya's face turned bright red. Alex laughed, a real laugh that Maya had rarely heard from him. "I'm her friend, but I hope to be a very good friend." Sophia seemed to consider this. "Okay, but if you're mean to her, I'll be very mad at you." "I wouldn't dream of it," Alex said solemnly. From that day forward, Sophia became part of their dynamic. Alex would bring her books and educational games. He'd ask about her school, her friends, her dreams. And Sophia, with the trusting heart of a child, accepted him completely. "She adores you," Maya said one evening as they sat on a bench outside the hospital. Sophia was playing on the small playground nearby. "I've never seen her warm up to someone so quickly. She's an incredible kid. You've done an amazing job with her." Maya watched her daughter climb the jungle gym. "I worry about her constantly. She's been through so much. Losing her father, watching me struggle. I try to protect her, but I know she sees more than I want her to. Kids are resilient, and she has you. Is that enough?" Alex turned to look at her. "Maya, you're the most dedicated mother I've ever seen. You work yourself to exhaustion for that little girl. You sacrifice everything for her. That's more than enough. That's everything." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. I just wake up every day and try to get through it." "That's all any of us can do." Alex hesitated, then reached over and covered her hand with his. "But you don't have to do it alone anymore. I know we're not whatever we are. But I'm here, and I want to help, not out of pity, not out of obligation. Because I care about you, both of you." Maya looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. The walls she'd built around her heart cracked a little more. "I'm scared," she admitted. The last time I let someone in, I lost him. I don't know if I can survive that again. I know the feeling. Alex's voice was soft. But I'm starting to think that being scared is better than being numb. At least fear means you're still alive. They sat in silence, watching Sophia play, both of them wondering if they were brave enough to take the next step. 1 month after Eleanor's funeral, Maya invited Alex to her apartment for dinner. It was a huge step for her. She was ashamed of where she lived. The building was old, the elevator was broken, and her apartment was tiny. But Alex had been so open with her about his life, his fears, his failures. She wanted to give him the same trust. "It's not much," she said as she opened the door, trying to see the space through his eyes. The worn furniture, the water stain on the ceiling, the cramped kitchen. Alex stepped inside and looked around, but his expression wasn't one of judgment. It was one of warmth. "It's home," he said simply. "That's what matters." Sophia ran to greet him, grabbing his hand and pulling him toward her room. "Come see my drawings. I made one for you." Maya watched as the billionaire allowed himself to be dragged by an 8-year-old into a bedroom the size of his closet. She heard him exclaiming over Sophia's artwork, asking questions, giving praise. Something inside her melted. Dinner was simple: chicken and rice, salad from a bag, garlic bread from the freezer. But Alex ate like it was a 5-star meal, complimenting every dish, asking for seconds. After Sophia went to bed, they sat on Maya's small couch, coffee cups in hand. "Thank you for tonight," Alex said. "This was nice." "Nice?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "I served you frozen garlic bread." "It was delicious frozen garlic bread," he smiled. "But I didn't mean the food, I meant this, being here, being part of something normal, something real." Maya studied his face. "Is your life so abnormal?" "You have no idea." Alex set down his coffee cup. "When you have money like mine, everyone wants something from you. Business partnerships, investments, favors, even my relationships have been transactional. Victoria didn't love me, she loved what I could give her. Not everyone is like that. I know, I'm starting to realize that." He looked at her intently. "You've never asked me for anything, Maya. Not once. In fact, you fought me when I tried to help you. Do you know how rare that is?" Maya shrugged uncomfortably. "I just don't like owing people." "It's more than that. You have integrity, honesty. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. I've never met anyone like you." The air between them grew charged. Maya felt her heart rate quicken. "Alex, I know it's too soon. I know we both have walls up. I know there are 1,000 reasons why this is a bad idea." He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "But I can't stop thinking about you, Maya. I've tried. I can't." Maya's breath caught. "I've tried too. It doesn't work." "Then maybe we should stop trying." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. The kiss was soft at first, tentative. Two people who had been hurt before, afraid to hope again. But then Maya felt something break loose inside her, and she kissed him back with all the loneliness and longing she'd kept bottled up for 3 years. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were breathing hard. "That was," Alex started. "Yeah," Maya agreed. "Only it was." They sat in silence for a moment, processing what had just happened. "Where do we go from here?" Maya asked. "I don't know. But I'd like to find out." Alex took her hand. "I'm not going to promise you forever. I've learned that forever doesn't exist. But I can promise you today, and tomorrow, and as many days after that as you'll give me." Maya squeezed his hand. "That's all I can promise too." "Then it's a deal." They kissed again, softer this time. And for the first time in years, both of them felt something they'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. The next few weeks were a blur of stolen moments and growing happiness. Alex would show up at Maya's apartment with takeout and movies. Maya would meet him for coffee during her breaks. Sophia started calling him Mr. Alex, then just Alex, and finally, with Maya's permission, Alex who makes mommy smile. They kept their relationship quiet at first. Maya wasn't ready to explain to her co-workers why she was dating a billionaire. Alex wasn't ready to face the media scrutiny that would inevitably follow. So they existed in their own little bubble, protected from the outside world. But bubbles, as Maya knew, always eventually burst. It started with a phone call. Alex was at Maya's apartment helping Sophia with her reading exercises when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and frowned. "I have to take this," he said, stepping into the hallway. Maya watched him through the window as he paced, his expression growing darker by the second. When he came back inside, his face was ashen. "What's wrong?" Maya asked immediately. "That was my lawyer." Alex ran a hand through his hair. "Victoria and Marcus, they're back." Maya's blood ran cold. "What do you mean, back?" "They've been planning something, a hostile takeover of my company. They've been buying up shares through shell corporations for months. And now they have enough to call an emergency board meeting." "Can they do that?" "Apparently they can." Alex sat down heavily on the couch. "But that's not the worst part. They fabricated evidence, documents that supposedly show I've been embezzling from my own company. They're going to present them to the board and try to have me removed as CEO. Maya felt sick. "But it's not true. You didn't do anything wrong." "I know, but they've had months to prepare. The evidence looks real. And they've been poisoning the board members against me. Half of them already think I've been distracted, unfocused." He looked at Maya. "Because of you. Me? They know about us. I don't know how, but they know, and they're using it, saying I've been neglecting the company for a personal relationship." Maya's heart sank. "Alex, if I'm making things worse, maybe we should—" "No," his voice was firm. "I'm not giving you up, not for them, not for anyone. But your company means nothing without you." He took her hands. "Maya, I spent years building Sterling Technologies. It was my life, my identity, but these past few weeks with you and Sophia have shown me that there's more to life than boardrooms and balance sheets. I'm not going to let Victoria and Marcus take that from me." Maya didn't know what to say. She was touched by his devotion but terrified of what was coming. "What happens now?" she asked. "The board meeting is in 3 days. I have to prepare my defense, gather evidence to counter their claims." Alex stood up, his mind clearly racing. "I should go. I have calls to make, lawyers to consult." Maya walked him to the door. "Is there anything I can do?" He paused, looking at her with a mixture of love and worry. "Just be here. That's enough." He kissed her quickly and left. Maya stood in the doorway for a long moment after he was gone, a feeling of dread settling in her stomach. She had known happiness wouldn't last. It never did. But she hadn't expected the end to come so soon. The next morning, Maya arrived at work to find the hospital buzzing with whispers. People stopped talking when she walked by. Co-workers who usually greeted her warmly now averted their eyes. Carmen found her in the break room, her face full of concern. "Have you seen the news?" Maya's stomach dropped. "What news?" Carmen pulled up an article on her phone and handed it to Maya. The headline made her blood run cold. "Billionaire's secret affair, Alexander Sterling pays. Struggling nurse for company." Below it was a photograph of Maya and Alex leaving her apartment building together, and another of them kissing on the bench outside the hospital, and another of Alex carrying Sophia on his shoulders at the park. The article was vicious. It painted Maya as a gold digger who had targeted a grieving billionaire. It implied that their relationship was transactional, that Alex had been paying for her companionship. It quoted anonymous sources who claimed Maya had seduced Alex to secure financial benefits for herself and her daughter. Maya felt sick. "This isn't true," she whispered. "None of this is true." "I know," Carmen said, "but everyone's talking about it. The board called an emergency meeting. They want to see you." "The hospital board?" Carmen nodded grimly. "In an hour." Maya walked into the conference room feeling like she was going to her execution. The board members sat around a long table, their faces solemn. Helen Chen, the nursing director, was there too, looking deeply uncomfortable. "Ms. Rodriguez," the chairman began, "I'm sure you're aware of the recent media reports." "They're lies," Maya said, her voice shaking. "Everything in those articles is a lie. Be that as it may, the hospital has to consider its reputation. We've already received calls from donors expressing concern." "Concern about what? My personal life has nothing to do with my work." "Your personal life has become very public, Ms. Rodriguez, and the allegations against you are false." Maya's voice rose. "I didn't target anyone. I didn't seduce anyone. I met Alexander Sterling when I yelled at him in a parking lot. His mother was my patient. We became friends. And yes, eventually we became more than friends. But I never asked him for anything. I didn't want his money. I just wanted—" She stopped, her voice breaking. "I just wanted to not be alone anymore." The room was silent. Finally, Helen Chen spoke up. "I've known Maya for 2 years. She's one of the best nurses I've ever worked with. Dedicated, compassionate, hardworking. These allegations go against everything I know about her character. Nevertheless," the chairman continued, "we have to take action. Ms. Rodriguez, you're being placed on administrative leave pending an investigation." Maya felt the floor drop out from under her. "You can't do this. It's for your protection as much as ours. Until this situation is resolved, it's best for everyone if you stay home." Maya wanted to argue. She wanted to scream, but she could see from the faces around the table that the decision was made. "Fine," she said quietly. "But I want you to know that I did nothing wrong. And when the truth comes out, I expect a full apology." She walked out of the room with her head held high, but inside she was crumbling. In the parking lot, she finally allowed herself to cry. Great heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep inside. Everything she had worked for, everything she had built, was falling apart. Her phone buzzed. A text from Alex. "I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I never should have dragged you into my mess." Maya wiped her eyes and typed back. "It's not your fault. It's Victoria and Marcus. They're the ones doing this. I know. And I'm going to stop them, but right now I need to ask you to stay away. For your own protection." Maya stared at the message, her heart breaking. "Are you pushing me away? I'm protecting you. They're targeting everyone close to me. If something happened to you or Sophia, I'd never forgive myself." "So that's it? You're just going to disappear?" "Just for now. Just until I fix this. Please trust me." Maya wanted to argue. She wanted to tell him that she didn't need protection, that she could handle herself, that she wasn't going to let him push her away, but she thought of Sophia, of the bullies at school who were already teasing her about the news articles, of the danger that Victoria and Marcus clearly posed. "Okay," she typed back. "But this isn't over. We're not over." "Never, I promise." Maya put her phone away and sat in her car for a long time, staring at nothing. She had finally let someone in. She had finally allowed herself to hope, and now it was all falling apart. But as she sat there, something else began to stir inside her. Something that had gotten her through Daniel's death, through the debt, through the endless struggle of single motherhood. defiance. Victoria and Marcus thought they could destroy her. They thought she was just a nurse, a nobody, collateral damage in their war against Alex. They were wrong. Maya Rodriguez had survived worse than 2 scheming socialites, and she wasn't going to let them win. She just needed to figure out how to fight back. What did you think of Maya and Alex's relationship and the crisis they're facing? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story so far? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to keep up with all our stories. Maya spent the first 2 days of her administrative leave in a fog. She dropped Sophia off at school, came home, and stared at the walls. The silence was suffocating. For 3 years, she had defined herself by her work, her purpose, her ability to provide for her daughter. Now all of that had been stripped away. Alex texted her every few hours but kept his distance as he'd promised. His messages were brief, reassuring, but Maya could read the stress between the lines. Board meeting tomorrow. They're presenting their evidence. My lawyers are working on a defense. Victoria gave an interview. Said I'm unstable, obsessed with a hospital worker. Don't watch it. I miss you. I'm sorry, this will be over soon. Maya wanted to believe him. But with each passing hour, the situation seemed to grow more dire. On the 3rd day, something changed. Sophia had left for school and Maya was making herself a cup of coffee she didn't really want when her eyes fell on a box in the corner of her closet. A box she hadn't opened in 3 years. Daniel's things. She had packed them away after the funeral, unable to look at them. His watch, his cufflinks, his notebooks from work. The memories were too painful, so she had sealed them up and tried to forget. But now, something drew her to that box. She pulled it out and sat on the floor, lifting the lid with trembling hands. The smell of his cologne still clung to the fabric of his favorite tie. She pressed it to her face and breathed deeply, letting the tears come. I miss you, she whispered. I don't know what to do. Everything is falling apart. She sorted through the contents slowly. His wedding ring, which she'd removed from his finger at the hospital. A photo of the 3 of them at Sophia's 5th birthday party. A stack of birthday cards he'd kept from her over the years. And then she found his work notebooks. Daniel had been a forensic accountant. He specialized in uncovering corporate fraud, tracing money through shell companies, finding discrepancies that others missed. He'd been brilliant at it, one of the best in Chicago. Maya had never paid much attention to his work. Numbers weren't her thing. But now, as she flipped through his notebooks, something caught her eye. They were full of his notes, his methods, his techniques for spotting fraud, step-by-step instructions for how to trace financial irregularities, diagrams showing how shell companies were used to hide money, red flags to look for in corporate documents. It was like a textbook for uncovering exactly the kind of fraud that Victoria and Marcus were committing. Maya's heart began to race. She remembered what Alex had told her about the fabricated evidence, documents that supposedly showed he'd been embezzling from his own company, documents that were fake but looked real enough to fool the board. What if she could prove they were fake? She didn't know anything about corporate finance. But Daniel's notebooks were detailed, methodical, and she had always been a quick learner. Maya grabbed her phone and called Alex. Maya, is everything okay? I need you to send me copies of the evidence Victoria and Marcus are presenting to the board. There was a pause. Why? Just trust me. Can you get them? Yes. My lawyers have copies, but Maya, what are you planning? I'm going to find something they missed. Another pause. Maya, these are complex financial documents. My entire legal team has been going through them and they haven't found anything. Your legal team didn't have a forensic accountant for a husband. Maya's voice was steady now, filled with purpose. Daniel taught me more than I realized, and he left me his notebooks, all his methods, all his techniques. I think I can do this, Alex. It's a long shot. It's the only shot we have. Alex was quiet for a moment, then he said, I'll send everything to you within the hour. Thank you. Maya? His voice softened. Be careful. Victoria and Marcus are dangerous. If they find out what you're doing, they won't. Not until it's too late. She hung up and looked at Daniel's notebooks with new determination. Help me, Daniel, she whispered. One more time. The documents arrived in a secure email an hour later. Maya printed them all out, spreading them across her kitchen table. There were hundreds of pages, financial statements, transfer records, corporate filings, emails. It was overwhelming, but Maya had something the legal team didn't have. She had Daniel's notebooks, and she had something else, the stubborn refusal to give up that had gotten her through the past 3 years. She started with the basics, following Daniel's instructions step by step. First, identify the narrative. What story are the documents trying to tell? According to Victoria and Marcus, Alex had been secretly transferring company funds to personal accounts for years. The documents showed a pattern of transactions, small enough to avoid detection but adding up to over $30 million second. Look for inconsistencies. Maya went through each transaction, comparing dates, amounts, account numbers. At first, everything seemed to match up perfectly. The forgeries were good, but Daniel had taught her that no forgery was perfect. There were always tells. She worked through the night, drinking coffee and taking notes. Sophia came home from school and Maya ordered pizza for dinner, barely taking her eyes off the documents. What are you doing, Mommy? Sophia asked, looking at the papers covering every surface. Trying to help a friend, Maya said, kissing her daughter's forehead. Do your homework, okay? I'll be done soon. Sophia looked skeptical but did as she was told. By 2 a.m., Maya was exhausted. Her eyes burned, her back ached. She had gone through every document twice and found nothing conclusive. She was about to give up when she noticed something. One of the transfer records was dated March 15th of the previous year. According to the document, Alex had authorized a transfer of $500,000 from the company's main account to a personal account in the Cayman Islands. But Maya remembered something Alex had told her. His mother had been diagnosed with cancer in February of that year. He had taken a leave of absence from the company in March to care for her. She pulled up her phone and searched for news articles from that time. There it was, a press release from Sterling Technologies dated March 10th. CEO Alexander Sterling announces temporary leave of absence for family medical emergency. COO Marcus Webb to assume operational duties. Maya's heart began to pound. If Alex was on leave on March 15th, he couldn't have authorized any transfers. Marcus had been in charge. She went back through the documents, looking for more dates that coincided with Alex's leave. She found 3 more suspicious transfers, all dated during the period when Marcus was running the company. This was it. The evidence was fake, but she needed more. A few date discrepancies wouldn't be enough to convince a hostile board. Maya went back to Daniel's notebooks, looking for his section on tracing money through shell companies. Follow the money, he had written. Shell companies exist to hide the true destination of funds. But every transaction leaves a trail. Find the trail, find the truth. Maya started tracing the account numbers listed in the transfer records. She cross-referenced them with public corporate filings, using databases that Daniel had bookmarked on his old laptop, which she dug out of the closet. By 5 a.m., she had found it. The Cayman Islands account that Alex had supposedly been using to hide embezzled funds. It was registered to a shell company called Meridian Holdings, LLC, And Meridian Holdings LLC, according to corporate filings from 2 years ago, was wholly owned by another company called Westbrook Enterprises. And Westbrook Enterprises had 2 listed directors, Victoria Chase and Marcus Webb. Maya sat back, her heart racing. Victoria and Marcus had created a shell company, funneled money into it, and then created fake documents to make it look like Alex was responsible. They were framing him for their own embezzlement. She had proof, real undeniable proof. Her hands shaking, Maya called Alex. He answered on the first ring, his voice groggy. "Maya, it's 5 in the morning. I found it. I found the proof." There was a pause. Then, wide awake, "What?" Maya explained everything. The date discrepancies, the shell companies, the connection to Victoria and Marcus. "My God," Alex breathed. "How did you find this?" "Daniel, his notebooks, his methods." Maya's voice cracked. "He helped me, Alex. Even now he helped me." "Maya, this is incredible. I need to get this to my lawyers immediately. The board meeting is in 6 hours." "There's more." Maya hesitated. "I want to be there, at the meeting." "That's not a good idea. Victoria and Marcus will be there. It could be dangerous." "I don't care. I found this evidence. I want to see their faces when they realize they've been caught." Alex was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Okay, I'll have a car pick you up at 8. But Maya?" "Yes? Thank you. You saved me." We saved each other. The Sterling Technologies headquarters was a towering glass building in downtown Chicago. Maya had never been inside. As she walked through the marble lobby, flanked by security guards, she felt completely out of place. But she also felt ready. Alex met her outside the boardroom, looking exhausted but determined. He was wearing a perfectly tailored suit, but Maya could see the strain in his eyes. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. "I'm sure." He took her hand and squeezed it. "Whatever happens in there, I want you to know something. These past few months with you and Sophia have been the happiest of my life. No matter how this ends, I don't regret any of it." Maya squeezed back. "It's not going to end. Not today." They walked into the boardroom together. The room was large and imposing, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A long table dominated the center, surrounded by men and women in expensive suits. At the far end sat Victoria Chase and Marcus Webb. Victoria was beautiful in a cold, calculated way. Perfect blonde hair, flawless makeup, designer dress. She looked at Maya with undisguised contempt. "What is she doing here?" Victoria demanded. "Miss Rodriguez is my guest," Alex said calmly, taking his seat at the head of the table. "This is a private board meeting," Marcus interjected. He was handsome in a polished, soulless way. "Non-employees are not permitted. Miss Rodriguez has information relevant to today's proceedings." Alex's voice was steady. "I suggest you let her stay." The board members exchanged uncertain glances. Finally, the chairman, an elderly man named Walter Prescott, nodded. "She can stay, but let's get on with this. Mr. Webb, Miss Chase, you called this meeting. The floor is yours." Marcus stood, buttoning his jacket with practiced smoothness. "Thank you, Walter. I wish we didn't have to be here today. Alexander Sterling has been my friend and partner for nearly 2 decades, but my loyalty to this company and to its shareholders must come first." He clicked a remote, and a presentation appeared on the large screen behind him. "Over the past several months, we've uncovered a disturbing pattern of financial irregularities. Funds transferred from company accounts to offshore holdings, falsified expense reports, a systematic campaign of embezzlement that has cost this company over $30 million. He clicked to the next slide, showing the transfer records Maya had analyzed the night before. The evidence is clear. These transactions were authorized by Alexander Sterling personally. His signature is on every document. His access codes were used for every transfer. Maya felt her pulse quicken. She looked at Alex, who remained stone-faced. "We have no choice," Marcus continued, his voice heavy with fake regret, "but to recommend the immediate removal of Alexander Sterling as CEO and chairman, and to pursue criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement." The room was silent. Victoria stood, placing a manicured hand on Marcus's shoulder. "I know this is difficult for everyone. Alexander and I were once engaged. I loved him, but I can't stand by and watch him destroy the company we all worked so hard to build." Her performance was flawless. Several board members nodded sympathetically. Walter Prescott cleared his throat. "Alexander, you have the right to respond." Alex stood slowly, straightening his tie. "Thank you, Walter. I've listened to Marcus and Victoria's accusations with great interest. The evidence they've presented is compelling, detailed, thorough." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "It's also completely fabricated." The room erupted in murmurs. Marcus's face tightened. Victoria's eyes narrowed. "That's a serious accusation," Marcus said coolly. "Do you have any proof?" "I do. But I'm not the one who found it." Alex turned to Maya. "Miss Rodriguez, would you care to explain?" Maya stood, her heart pounding. Every eye in the room was on her. Victoria's glare could have cut glass. "My name is Maya Rodriguez," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I'm a nurse at St. Michael's Hospital. I have no business background, no corporate training. I'm just a single mother trying to get by." She paused, gathering her courage. "But my late husband was a forensic accountant. He specialized in uncovering exactly this kind of fraud. When I learned about the accusations against Mr. Sterling, I used my husband's methods to analyze the evidence." She pulled a folder from her bag and opened it. "The first thing I noticed was the dates. Several of the transfers that Mr. Sterling supposedly authorized occurred during a period when he was on a documented leave of absence, caring for his dying mother. During that time, Mr. Webb had operational control of the company." Maya clicked the remote, changing the slide to show the press release about Alex's leave. "Second, I traced the destination accounts for these suspicious transfers. They lead to a shell company called Meridian Holdings, which is owned by another company called Westbrook Enterprises." She clicked again, showing the corporate filings. Westbrook Enterprises has 2 directors of record. She looked directly at Victoria and Marcus. Victoria Chase and Marcus Webb. The room exploded in chaos. Board members shouted questions. Victoria's face had gone pale. Marcus was already on his feet, his composed facade cracking. "This is ridiculous," Marcus bellowed. "She's a nurse. She doesn't know anything about corporate finance." "I know how to follow instructions," Maya replied calmly. "And I know how to read corporate filings. These documents are public record. Anyone can verify them." "She's obviously been coached," Victoria shrieked. "This is a setup. Alexander hired her to lie for him." "I've never been paid a penny by Mr. Sterling," Maya said, her voice rising. "Unlike the 2 of you who have apparently been paying yourselves quite handsomely with money you stole from this company." Walter Prescott banged his hand on the table. "Order! Everyone, please!" The room gradually quieted. "Miss Rodriguez," Walter said, studying her with new interest, "you're saying that Mr. Webb and Miss Chase created false documents to frame Mr. Sterling for their own embezzlement?" "That's exactly what I'm saying, and I have the evidence to prove it." Maya handed the folder to the chairman. He flipped through the pages, his expression growing darker by the second. "This is quite detailed," he murmured. "It's a lie," Victoria insisted, but her voice had lost its confidence. Walter looked up from the documents. "I think we need to adjourn this meeting pending a full investigation. Mr. Webb, Miss Chase, I'm going to have to ask you to surrender your access credentials until this matter is resolved. You can't do this, Marcus snarled. We have rights. You have the right to be investigated, Walter replied coldly. Security, please escort Mr. Webb and Miss Chase from the building. The doors opened and 2 security guards entered. Victoria turned to Maya, her eyes blazing with hatred. You have no idea what you've done. You're nobody, a cleaning woman playing detective. I'm a nurse, Maya corrected her. And I'm someone who pays attention to details, something you should have done before you falsified those documents. Victoria lunged toward her, but Marcus grabbed her arm. This isn't over, he hissed at Alex. You think you've won? I'll destroy you, both of you. You'll have to do it from prison, Alex replied calmly. I've already forwarded all of this evidence to the FBI. They should be at your homes within the hour. Marcus's face went white. For the first time, real fear showed in his eyes. The security guard stepped forward and took both Marcus and Victoria by the arms. As they were led out of the boardroom, Victoria turned back one last time. You'll regret this, she said to Maya. I promise you'll regret this. Then she was gone. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Walter Prescott cleared his throat. Well, that was certainly unexpected. He looked at Alex. Mr. Sterling, I believe I speak for the entire board when I say we owe you an apology. We should have been more skeptical of these accusations. The evidence was compelling, Alex said graciously. Anyone might have been fooled. Walter nodded, then turned to Maya. And you, Miss Rodriguez? I don't know who you are or how you ended up in the middle of all this, but I suspect this company owes you a significant debt of gratitude. Maya felt her cheeks flush. I just did what anyone would do. I rather doubt that. Walter smiled for the first time. Most people wouldn't know where to begin. The meeting adjourned shortly after. As the board members filed out, many of them stopped to shake Maya's hand or offer words of thanks. Finally, she and Alex were alone in the empty boardroom. He turned to her, his eyes shining with emotion. You saved me. Again. Why? Maya stepped closer to him. Because that night in the hospital parking lot, I saw a man who needed someone to tell him the truth, and because... She hesitated, then smiled. Because I see who you really are. And who is that? Someone worth fighting for. Alex pulled her into his arms and kissed her right there in the boardroom where he had almost lost everything. When they finally broke apart, Maya laughed softly. So what happens now? Now? Alex grinned. Now I think we need to go pick up Sophia from school and celebrate. I'm thinking ice cream. Lots of ice cream. Maya smiled, feeling lighter than she had in years. That sounds perfect. They walked out of Sterling Technologies together, leaving behind the chaos and the drama. Outside, the Chicago sun was shining, and for the first time in a long time, the future looked bright. But as they reached Alex's car, Maya's phone buzzed. It was a message from Carmen. Turn on the news, now. Maya and Alex exchanged worried glances. He pulled up a news app on his phone. The headline made Maya's blood run cold. Breaking: Victoria Chase and Marcus Webb arrested by FBI. Chase vows revenge, claims Sterling's nurse girlfriend will pay for everything. Below the headline was a photograph of Victoria being led away in handcuffs. Her face was twisted with rage, and she was staring directly into the camera. Directly at Maya. It's over, Alex said, putting an arm around her. They're in custody. They can't hurt you. But Maya couldn't shake the chill that ran down her spine. She had won the battle. But something told her the war wasn't quite over yet. What did you think of Maya's detective work and the boardroom confrontation? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story so far? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to keep up with all our stories. The days following Victoria and Marcus's arrest were a whirlwind. News crews camped outside Maya's apartment building. Reporters called her phone constantly. Her face was on every news channel, every website, every social media feed. Nurse-turned-detective saves billionaire from corporate coup. Single mom uncovers 30 million fraud scheme. The woman who brought down Chicago's most notorious power couple. Maya hated every second of it. She wasn't a hero. She was just a woman who had used her late husband's notebooks to help someone she cared about. But the media had turned her into a symbol, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Alex tried to shield her from the worst of it. He hired security to keep the reporters at bay. He arranged for Sophia to be escorted to school by private drivers. He offered to move Maya and Sophia into his penthouse until the attention died down. Maya refused. "I'm not hiding," she told him. "I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to act like I did." "It's not about hiding. It's about safety. Victoria and Marcus are in jail. What are they going to do from a prison cell?" Alex looked at her with worried eyes. "Victoria has connections, money. Even from behind bars, she could make your life difficult. Let her try." Maya lifted her chin defiantly. "I've survived worse than a bitter socialite with a grudge." Alex smiled despite himself. "Has anyone ever told you you're incredibly stubborn?" "Every day of my life." 1 week after the boardroom confrontation, Maya received a call from Helen Chen at the hospital. "Maya, can you come in? The board wants to speak with you." Maya's stomach tightened. "Am I still under investigation?" "Just come in. I think you'll want to hear what they have to say." Maya drove to the hospital, her nerves jangling. She had barely slept in days. The constant media attention, the worry about Sophia, the uncertainty about her job, it was all taking a toll. When she walked into the conference room, she found the same board members who had placed her on administrative leave. But this time, their expressions were different. Apologetic, even ashamed. Walter Prescott, who had chaired the Sterling Technologies board meeting, was also present. Maya recognized him immediately and frowned in confusion. "Miss Rodriguez," the hospital chairman began, "thank you for coming. Please have a seat." Maya sat, her back rigid. "First, we owe you an apology. We acted hastily when the media reports came out. We should have trusted your character, your record, your dedication to this hospital. Instead, we let public pressure dictate our decisions." Maya said nothing. She wasn't going to make this easy for them. "Your administrative leave is over, effective immediately. You're welcome to return to work whenever you're ready." "Thank you," Maya said coolly. "Is that all?" The chairman shifted uncomfortably. "Actually, no. Mr. Prescott asked to speak with you as well." Walter Prescott leaned forward, his eyes kind but serious. "Miss Rodriguez, I've been in business for 40 years. I've seen a lot of people come and go. Smart people. Talented people, but I've rarely seen anyone with your combination of intelligence, integrity, and courage." Maya felt her cheeks warm. "I just did what needed to be done." "That's exactly my point. Most people don't. Most people see a problem and walk away. You saw a problem and solved it, even though you had every reason to stay out of it." He slid a business card across the table. "I'd like to offer you a position. Sterling Technologies is creating a new department focused on corporate ethics and fraud prevention. We need someone to lead it, someone with fresh eyes and uncompromising standards." Maya stared at the card. "You want me to work for Sterling Technologies? I'm a nurse. I don't know anything about corporate ethics. You know more than you think, and you have something more valuable than any degree or certification. You have instincts, the kind that can't be taught." Maya was quiet for a long moment, processing the offer. I appreciate this, I really do, but I need time to think about it. Walter nodded. Of course. Take all the time you need. But I hope you'll consider it seriously. You could do a lot of good in that role. After the meeting, Maya sat in her car in the hospital parking lot, staring at the business card in her hand. Her whole life she had defined herself by her work as a nurse. It was what she knew, what she was good at. The idea of leaving that behind, of stepping into a completely different world, was terrifying. But it was also exciting. Her phone buzzed, a text from Alex. How did it go? She smiled and typed back. They offered me my job back, and something else. Can we talk tonight? I'll pick you up at 7, I have something to ask you too. Maya's heart skipped. Mysterious, I like it. You'll like this even more. See you tonight. At exactly 7 p.m., Alex's car pulled up in front of Maya's building. But instead of his usual driver, Alex was behind the wheel himself. No driver tonight? Maya asked as she climbed in. Tonight is special. I wanted it to be just us. He drove through the city as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Maya watched the familiar streets pass by, wondering where he was taking her. Finally, they arrived at a quiet park on the lakefront. It was the same park where Maya used to bring Sophia on weekends, where she had pushed her daughter on the swings and dreamed of better days. Alex led her to a bench overlooking the water. The city skyline glittered in the distance, and the evening air was warm and soft. I have something for you, Alex said, reaching into his jacket pocket. Maya's breath caught. Alex! He pulled out a small velvet box and opened it. Inside was a ring. Not the enormous diamond she might have expected from a billionaire, but something simpler. A modest sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, set in a delicate gold band. This was my mother's, Alex said, his voice thick with emotion. She wore it every day of her life. Before she died, she told me to give it to someone worthy of it. Someone brave, someone honest, someone who sees me for who I really am. Tears streamed down Maya's face. Maya Rodriguez, you came into my life yelling at me in a parking lot. You called me blind and selfish and entitled, and you were right. He laughed softly. You've been right about everything since the moment we met. He took her hand, his eyes locked on hers. I love you. I love Sophia. I love the life we're building together. I know it hasn't been easy. I know there's still a lot of uncertainty ahead. But I also know that I don't want to face any of it without you. He got down on one knee. Maya Elena Rodriguez, will you marry me? Maya couldn't speak. Her throat was tight with emotion. She looked at the ring, at Alex's hopeful face, at the city that had been the backdrop to so much pain and struggle. And then she looked at the future, a future she had never dared to imagine. Yes, she whispered, then stronger. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Alex slipped the ring onto her finger and rose to his feet, pulling her into his arms. They kissed as the last rays of sunlight disappeared over the lake, two people who had found each other against all odds. When they finally pulled apart, Maya laughed through her tears. Sophia is going to lose her mind, Alex grinned. Actually, I already asked for her permission. You did? Yesterday. I told her I wanted to marry her mother and I needed to know if it was okay with her. Maya's heart swelled. What did she say? She said yes, but only if I promised to always make pancakes on Saturday mornings. Maya laughed. That sounds like her. I also promised to take her to Disney World for our honeymoon. Our honeymoon? Alex shrugged. She drives a hard bargain. Maya shook her head, overwhelmed with happiness. I love you, Alexander Sterling. I love you too, Maya, more than I ever thought I could love anyone. They sat together on the bench watching the stars come out over Lake Michigan, both of them finally at peace. The wedding took place 3 months later in the hospital garden where Eleanor Sterling had spent her final days. It was Maya's idea. She wanted to honor the woman who had brought them together, the woman who had seen something in both of them that they couldn't see in themselves. The ceremony was small and intimate. Carmen was Maya's maid of honor. Sophia was the flower girl, scattering petals with enthusiastic abandon. A few close friends and colleagues attended, along with some of Alex's most trusted employees. There was no media, no spectacle, just two people in love, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Maya wore a simple white dress that she had found at a vintage shop downtown. Alex wore the same charcoal suit he had been wearing the night they met. "I wanted to remind myself of how far we've come," he explained when she asked about it. Their vows were personal and heartfelt. Alex went first. "Maya, 3 months ago you yelled at me in a parking lot and changed my life forever. You saw through all my walls, all my defenses, all the armor I had built to protect myself from being hurt again. You challenged me to be better, to care more, to live fully." He paused, his voice breaking slightly. "My mother told me before she died that I needed to let someone in. She was talking about you. She saw what I was too afraid to see, that you are the bravest, kindest, most extraordinary person I have ever known, and I am so grateful that you chose me." Maya wiped her eyes before beginning her own vows. "Alex, when I met you, I was barely surviving. I was drowning in debt, exhausted from working double shifts, terrified that I was failing my daughter. I had given up on the idea that life could be anything more than just getting through each day." She took his hands in hers. "You showed me that it's possible to hope again, to trust again, to love again. Not because you fixed my problems or made my life easier, but because you saw me, the real me, and you loved me anyway." She glanced at Sophia, who was watching with wide eyes. "You've become a father to my daughter. You've become my partner, my best friend, my home. And I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that love." The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and Alex kissed Maya as the small crowd erupted in cheers. Sophia ran up and threw her arms around both of them, and they lifted her up between them, a family at last. At the reception, held in a small tent in the same garden, Maya found a quiet moment to visit Eleanor's memorial plaque. "Thank you," she whispered, tracing the engraved letters with her finger. "For seeing him, for seeing me, for bringing us together." Alex found her there a few minutes later. "Are you okay?" "I'm perfect," she smiled at him. "I was just saying thank you." He put his arm around her, looking at his mother's name. "She would have loved today. I know. I could feel her here." They stood together in comfortable silence, honoring the woman who had made their happiness possible. 6 months after the wedding, the Eleanor Sterling Foundation was officially launched. It was Alex's idea, but Maya was the driving force behind it. The foundation's mission was simple: to help families struggling with medical debt and to provide educational support for children with learning disabilities. Maya left her nursing job to become the foundation's executive director. She threw herself into the work, using her first-hand experience with financial hardship to guide the foundation's programs. "Every family we help is a family that doesn't have to go through what I went through," she told a reporter at the foundation's launch event. That's what Eleanor Sterling would have wanted. That's her legacy. The foundation grew quickly, funded by Alex's resources and guided by Maya's vision. Within its first year, it had helped over 500 families pay off medical debt and provided scholarships to more than 200 children. Sophia thrived in her new life. The specialized tutoring that Alex had funded continued, and she made remarkable progress. By the end of second grade, she was reading at grade level for the first time. "Look, Mommy," she exclaimed one afternoon, holding up a book. "I read the whole thing by myself." Maya scooped her daughter into her arms, tears of joy streaming down her face. "I'm so proud of you, baby, so proud." Alex, watching from the doorway, felt his heart swell with love for both of them. Victoria Chase and Marcus Webb were convicted of fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Victoria received 12 years in federal prison. Marcus received 15. At the sentencing hearing, Maya was called to testify about her role in uncovering the fraud. She kept her testimony brief and factual, refusing to gloat or seek revenge. When it was over, the prosecutor pulled her aside. "You know, you could have a career in forensic accounting if you wanted. That work you did was better than most professionals." Maya smiled. "I had a good teacher." She kept Daniel's notebooks on a shelf in her new office, right next to a photo of their wedding day. He was still with her, always. And now, so was Alex. 1 year after the wedding, Maya sat in the doctor's office, staring at an ultrasound screen. "Congratulations," the doctor said with a smile. "You're having twins." Maya's hand flew to her mouth. "Twins? A boy and a girl, both healthy and strong." That night, Maya and Alex sat on the couch in their new home, a modest brownstone on a quiet street that Maya had chosen specifically because it reminded her of her childhood. "Twins," Alex said for the 10th time, still processing the news. "Are you okay?" "Okay?" He laughed. "Maya, I'm terrified. I'm 50 years old. I'm going to be changing diapers and dealing with teenagers at the same time. You're 43. Same thing." Maya laughed and snuggled against him. "We'll figure it out. We always do." Alex wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. "I never wanted children," he admitted. "Before you. I thought they were a complication, a liability, something that could be used against me. And now? Now I can't wait to meet them." He placed his hand on her belly, feeling the tiny lives growing inside. "I want to teach them everything. How to ride a bike, how to read, how to be kind and honest and brave like their mother." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. They're going to be so loved. More than they'll ever know. Sophia took the news with characteristic enthusiasm. "I'm going to be a big sister," she announced to anyone who would listen. "I'm going to teach them everything. How to draw, how to read, how to make Daddy make pancakes." Maya watched her daughter's excitement with a full heart. Sophia had gone from a little girl who barely smiled to a confident, happy child who lit up every room she entered. That transformation was Alex's doing as much as hers. 8 months later, on a snowy December morning, Maya gave birth to twins. A boy whom they named Daniel Alexander after Maya's late husband and Alex's mother's maiden name. And a girl whom they named Eleanor Grace after the woman who had brought them together. Alex held his son for the first time with trembling hands. "He's so small," he whispered. "He's perfect," Maya said, cradling Eleanor in her arms. Sophia peered at her new siblings with wonder. "They look like little potatoes," she declared. Maya laughed despite her exhaustion. "They do, don't they? I love them anyway. Me too, baby, me too." That night, after the visitors had left and the babies were sleeping, Alex sat beside Maya's hospital bed, holding her hand. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For everything. For yelling at me in that parking lot, for not giving up on me. For giving me a family I never knew I wanted." Maya squeezed his hand. "Thank you for seeing me, for believing in me, for loving us. Always, until my last breath." They sat together in the quiet hospital room watching their twins sleep, both of them marveling at the journey that had brought them here. 2 years later, on a warm spring evening, the Sterling family gathered in their backyard for a barbecue. Sophia, now 10, was teaching Danny and Ellie how to blow bubbles. The twins toddled after her with delighted squeals, their chubby hands reaching for the floating spheres. Carmen and her husband were there, along with several of Maya's colleagues from the foundation. Alex's most trusted employees had become family friends, their children playing alongside Sophia and the twins. Maya stood at the edge of the yard, watching the scene with a heart so full she thought it might burst. Alex came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" "About how different my life is now. 4 years ago, I was sitting on a sidewalk outside the hospital, crying because I didn't know how I was going to pay my electric bill. And now..." She gestured at the yard full of laughing children and happy friends. "Now you have everything," Alex finished. "I had everything the moment I met you, I just didn't know it yet." He kissed her cheek. "You know what I remember most about that night? Me screaming at you?" He chuckled. "That too. But mostly I remember the look in your eyes. You were so fierce, so determined, so absolutely certain that you were right. I was right. You were, about everything." He turned her to face him. "You were the first person in years who wasn't afraid of me. The first person who told me the truth. The first person who saw me, not my money or my power, but me." Maya reached up and touched his face. "I still see you. I know. And that's why I love you." Sophia ran up to them, Danny and Ellie following close behind. "Daddy, Mommy, come play with us. We're going to catch fireflies." Alex scooped up Danny while Maya lifted Ellie. Sophia grabbed both their hands and led them toward the jar she had prepared. As the sun set and the fireflies began to appear, the Sterling family spread out across the yard, laughing and chasing the tiny lights. Maya paused for a moment, watching her husband and children, feeling the warm evening air on her skin. She thought about Eleanor Sterling, whose wisdom had brought her and Alex together. She thought about Daniel Rodriguez, whose legacy had helped her save the man she loved. She thought about the woman she had been 4 years ago, exhausted and hopeless and convinced that happiness was something that happened to other people. And she thought about the woman she was now, wife, mother, director of a foundation that helped thousands of families. A woman who had learned that love could come from the most unexpected places, that second chances were real, that sometimes the best things in life started with a misunderstanding in a parking lot. "Mommy, come on," Sophia called. "You're missing all the fireflies." Maya smiled and joined her family, catching fireflies in the gathering dusk, surrounded by love and laughter and everything she had ever wanted. Later that night, after the guests had left and the children were asleep, Maya and Alex sat on their porch watching the stars. "Do you ever wonder," Maya asked, "what would have happened if I hadn't yelled at you that night?" Alex considered the question. "I think we still would have found each other. My mother would have made sure of it." Maya smiled. "She was determined, wasn't she? She saw something in you from the very beginning. She told me you were special, that you were going to change my life. She was right. She usually was." Alex reached over and took Maya's hand. "I'm glad you yelled at me." "Me too. Even though you called me blind and entitled?" "Especially because I called you blind and entitled." Maya laughed. "Someone had to." Alex leaned over and kissed her softly. "I love you, Maya Sterling." "I love you too, Alex." They sat together on the porch, hand in hand, looking up at the same stars that had witnessed their first kiss by the lake. And somewhere, Maya was certain, Eleanor Sterling was watching over them, smiling. Inside the house, Sophia stirred in her sleep, dreaming of fireflies. In the nursery, Danny and Ellie breathed softly, safe and loved. And on the porch, two people who had found each other against all odds sat in comfortable silence, grateful for every moment they had been given. Their story hadn't started like a fairy tale. It had started with anger and misunderstanding and rain. But it had become something beautiful, something worth fighting for, something eternal. What did you think of Maya and Alexander's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to keep up with all our stories. And check out more inspiring stories by clicking right here on the screen.